Gilead.
Welcome to another presentation, Balm in Gilead, a series about health to help us have that natural health as much as we can, knowing the cause and finding solutions to our health. Today, it's our topic number 2. Number 1 was wreckage of the temple, and number 2 is entitled Overcome a Heartburn. So this heartburn, overcome heartburn, is our part 2, and may you pray that God impresses upon your mind, if you have been going through this situation, asking yourself how you can overcome a heartburn, may it be something that helps you throughout today. So our question first is, what is a heartburn? And according to Mayo Clinic, a heartburn is a burning pain in your chest just behind your breastbone. This pain is often worse after eating in the evening or when lying down or bending over. So they have given us the definition of a heartburn and the main times when it manifests itself. It's a burning sensation in your chest or just behind a breastbone. And they have outlined for us the times when it manifests itself. Maybe when we have just finished eating, then in the evening, when lying down and bending over. So it's maybe an occasional heartburn which occurs just occasionally in a few times in life, or it may be a more frequent and it may indicate serious problems. It alarms you to go for a medical checkup. So what's all about a heartburn? So symptoms of a heartburn, this includes a burning pain in the chest that usually occurs after eating and may occur at night. Remember we said heartburn may occur just after eating or in the evening when bending or when you are lying down. So it is a pain that lies down when lying down, pains that worsens that when you're lying down or bending over, and a bitter acidic taste in the mouth. So what causes a heartburn? Surely. So causes of a heartburn are these below. Mainly, it occurs when there is an acid reflux in the tube that carries food from your mouth to the stomach, which is called the esophagus. That is what causes a heartburn. When there is reflux of acid from the stomach to the esophagus. So when that one happens, that causes a heartburn. It is a forceful impact, that's why it pains. It's not a simple thing. It occurs because of that force by which food is sent through from the stomach through the esophagus. So when food is swallowed, a muscle band that we can call a gate, or medically called a sphincter, known as the cardiac sphincter, commonly known as the lower esophageal sphincter, relaxes to allow food and liquid to flow down in the stomach. So after food has passed into the stomach, this sphincter closes. When it fails to close, then food gushes back through the esophagus. So if the lower sphincter if the lower esophageal sphincter isn't working as it should, stomach acid can flow back up into the esophagus and cause a heartburn. The acid backup may be worse when you are bent over or lying down. So that is what generally causes a heartburn. And some of the risk factors to this: eating spicy foods, onions, citrus products, tomato products such as ketchup, fatty or fried acids. Let me stress a little about these things. Spicy foods, being spiced, they cause a secretion, they stimulate a secretion of a high amount of stomach acid. So this may end up gushing into the stomach. I remember one day as I was working for my Indian boss some time back, many times he would finish eating, he would do that kind of sound after eating. So that kind of sound comes when, and I really can relate because he used to eat Indian spiced food, and so it could cause that kind of a heartburn. So that makes it a risk of heartburn. Onions, especially raw ones, onions have strong stimulants which may delay closure of the sphincter and cause acid reflux. Citrus products the same, and tomato ketchup. Then fatty or fried foods, these ones we shall see how they bring about these fatty foods. We shall see how they bring about this. So then, peppermint, chocolate, alcohol or carbonated beverages, coffee or other caffeinated beverages. We shall see how these all do that. All large fatty meals, even you can add excess food. So those are some of the risk factors that cause a heartburn. So still too, being overweight or being pregnant also can increase your risk of experiencing heartburn, especially with women when they are pregnant, where the fetus continues to grow. It occupies that space, pushing the stomach to have a small volume or small space. So that ends up causing an acid reflux because the stomach is pressed upon by the growing fetus. That's why it may cause a heartburn among pregnant women. So what can we do to foresee that what life changes can we do to see that we can reduce a heartburn, or we can overcome a heartburn? Number one is to avoid foods that trigger your symptoms, and in these we said some foods such as raw onions, peppermint, fatty foods, spicy foods. These are some of the foods that trigger a heartburn, so you can avoid them if they are the ones. If you really understand what causes your heartburn, you can openly face it and overcome it, because it's something that can be overcome by lifestyle improvement. So two, you tame the fork in your hand. What does this mean? Sometimes as we are eating, the more the fork lies in our hands, the more we are pulled to take food into the stomach. And sometimes you find yourself, as some part of the food is being swallowed, another is in the middle being another one is in the middle being chewed, and another one is entering into the mouth. So you don't get time to rest your throat. As the sphincter is opening to let food in, another one is coming. As it is opening to let food in, another one is coming. So at the end of it all, the sphincter ends up not closing as it should be. That causes a cardiac an acid reflux, which causes a heartburn. Yeah. So again, tame the fork in your hand. What can I do to tame the fork in my hand? That means that you will hold your fork only when you are taking food into the mouth. If you have eaten food, if you have put food into the mouth, put the fork down, chew the food, and then take the fork again when you have finished swallowing. Shall see. So when we eat a fatty meal, this fatty meal causes stimulation of the production of a hormone called cholecystokinin. So this cholecystokinin has an effect of inducing closure of the sphincter that lets food from the stomach into the duodenum. And when it closes, yet fatty meals cause stimulation of the stomach to produce more gastric juices, it will cause a reflux in the tongue. Get my point? If there is no outlet of food from the stomach to the duodenum, then it becomes loaded in the stomach. And if our sphincter, the cardiac sphincter is not closed very well, then there would be a reflux after that, at a meal. So that cholecystokinin has an effect on the duodenum. Therefore, it will induce release of every substance, and it delays epigastric emptying. It delays gastric emptying from the stomach, and as food gets full in the stomach, and as charming changes the food from solid to more to the chyle, it ends up piling up in the stomach, and we can have a reflux if there is no release from the stomach. So then we see that we should avoid eating an excess of food. So too much eating also loads the stomach, and in turn this may result into a reflux. And sometimes this too much eating is done because we poorly chew our food. So too much eating, or eating a lot of food, is a result of this heartburn. So if you reduce the food you eat, you can be able to fight a heartburn and overcome the heartburn. So one writer says, overeating causes the stomach to expand beyond its normal size to adjust to the large amount of food. To break down food, the stomach produces hydrochloric acid. If you overeat, this acid may back up into the esophagus, resulting in a heartburn. So get that. And beyond the heartburn, there is what we call belching, that gas that you produce, which is so smelly, it is uncomfortable. So to avoid that, reduce the amount of food you eat. Don't eat because of excitement, but eat because you are healthy. Yeah, before you can be healthy through your eating. So the writer of the book Counsels on Diet and Foods says, overtaxing the stomach. This is a 19th century inspired woman called Ellen White. He wrote about health, and today science is proving her ways that he wrote about to be essential for a good life. She writes and says, overtaxing the stomach is a common sin, and when too much food is used, the entire system is burdened. Life and vitality, instead of being increased, are decreased. This is as Saturn plans to have it. Man uses up his vital forces in unnecessary labor in taking care of an excess of food. I think I would add a scientific voice to this. When you eat a lot of food, much of the blood that is being pumped is changed. The brain receives less blood and more goes to the stomach, that it may charm the food enough, it may get the strength to destroy or to break down that food. So if you eat a lot, the brain is at risk of functioning less. That's why sometimes we get a post-lunch dip. You eat a lot of food and then you start to feel drowsy or tired, and then sleep. It comes because of that too much taxing of the stomach, diverting the blood from the brain to come to the stomach for breaking down of the food. So we again continue. She writes on page 131, says, intemperance in eating, even of healthful food, will have an injurious effect upon the system and will blunt the mental and moral faculties. She adds, and what influence does overeating have upon the stomach? It becomes debilitated, the digestive organs are weakened, and disease, with all its train of evils, is brought on as the result. If persons were diseased before, they thus increase the difficulties upon them and lessen their vitality every day they live. They call their vital powers into unnecessary action to take care of the food that they face in their stomachs. So we can see that overeating, eating in excess, is deadly to our system. That came from Counsels on Diet and Foods, 131, paragraph 5, and 135, paragraph 3. So proceeding, the psalmist is the man who wrote Proverbs says in Proverbs 25 verse 16, "Hast thou found honey? Eat so much as is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled therewith and vomit it." You can put heartburn instead of vomit. So we see that the God, through his inspiration, told men that they should eat what is enough for them, what is sufficient for them, lest it becomes much and they vomit it. So even the Bible tells us that such a thing would happen, and the minor case of a vomit, we can see it as a heartburn. Proverbs 23 verse 21, it says, "For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags." So you can see why sometimes you finish eating lunch and you end up wanting to sleep. It is because of being glutton, eating a lot, and being filled with a lot of food that causes drowsiness. So he goes on, verse 23 verse 2, he says, "And put a knife to thy throat, if thou be a man given to appetite." So in simple terms, he's saying, be temperate in what you are eating. You'll avoid a heartburn. So Philippians 3 verse 19 says, "Whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things." Philippians chapter 3 verse 19. So a heartburn causes is just minor than a vomit. But before we reach a vomit, we can avoid a heartburn also, because it ashames us. Too much eating, poor eating. We don't chew enough food. We don't chew enough times. It causes us a heartburn. Counsels on Diet on Foods, 135, paragraph 4, says, "We know something of dyspepsia by experience. We have had it in our family, and we feel that it is a disease much to be dreaded. When a person becomes a thorough dyspeptic, he is a greater sufferer, mentally and physically, and his friends must also suffer unless they are as unfeeling as brutes." So this doesn't only take only you, but even the friends around. So dyspepsia is that uncomfort you feel after a lot of eating food. It is so irritating. It is not good for a person to have that. And it comes with unregulated ways of eating, that is rapid eating, rapid chewing, eating a lot of food. Dyspepsia comes. It is a minor, but before it is an indicator that something greater would have come. So we can improve our health by chewing our food as enough as we can. So dyspepsia, the medical term for indigestion, refers to discomfort or pain in the abdomen, often after eating or drinking. It is not a disease but a symptom of gastroesophageal reflux disease and other conditions. So dyspepsia is a symptom of GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. So we can see how we can fight this from our life. It doesn't need a doctor. It is only what it all needs is commitment to change our lives. So Jesus stressed to his people and told them, "Not that which enters, which goeth into the mouth defiles a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defiles a man. For those things which proceed out of the mouth come from the heart, and they defile the man." So health-wise, we see that you may eat your good food that is pleasing to the eyes, but once you vomit, you are defiled. So we can regulate our eating, and we see that we have good life, happiness, and without any disturbance. God wants us to be healthy and to enjoy our life. So still continuing with the lifestyle measures to combat heartburn and have good health, we see that we should chew our food maximally, as enough as possible. How can we chew then? So 30 times is for starters, and it doesn't break well the food. You are likely to face a heartburn. 35 times, it's okay, but it's also not enough. It is still starter's package. So 45 times it's good, 55 times it's also good or it's better, 72 times is the best and excellent. So by this you eat food that you will take in as water. You chew, say if it is sweet potato, you chew it until it is liquid in your mouth, that when you chew it goes up to, that will help us reduce risks of a heartburn. Why is it necessary to chew our food thoroughly? When we are chewing our food thoroughly, one, we don't overeat. It causes satiety easily. We don't overeat. Sometimes we overeat because we are not chewing well. If you want to know what satiety means, we don't measure it by how you feel as you are eating. We measure it by how you will feel when you are done eating. So 70 times is the best time for everyone to chew their food. So then, why chew food very well? It prevents overeating, prevents spike in blood sugar levels, brings in satiety, prevents post-lunch dip or drowsiness or sleeping, prevents bloating and acid reflux, and it prevents malnutrition. Those are the benefits of thorough chewing of food. So proceeding, we see that here is how we can ensure that we chew enough our food. We can ensure that we chew enough our food by doing these things. Number one, don't eat while driving, watching TV, or texting on phone. Like, put away all the things that divide your attention from food. It is texting, driving, or TV watching. Then choose food with high fiber content, like fruits and vegetables. It takes you some good time to, as you are chewing this food. Then set your time in which you eat your food. At least the least it should be 20 to 30 minutes. Don't walk around as you are eating here and there, and just keep in one position as you are eating. Then put down your cutlery every few minutes and don't pick up the next morsel before you swallow the first, if eating with hands. Those are some of the few things we can do to ensure that we chew our food maximally. So another advantage of chewing food maximally, it is good for those who want to lose weight. Yeah. So another risk factor of heartburn is caffeinated drinks. How does this one work? From Health Shots, it says caffeine stimulates the production of stomach acid, which can irritate the lining of the esophagus, leading to a heartburn. So the acidity and caffeine content of coffee relaxes the lower esophageal sphincter, a muscular valve that normally prevents stomach acid from flowing back into the esophagus. This relaxation can allow acid to reflux upwards, causing discomfort and a burning sensation known as heartburn. So he adds, the high acidity content of coffee can also directly irritate the stomach lining, exacerbating conditions that like gastritis or ulcers, explains the expert. So we can see that the stomach, the caffeine delays closure of the LES because of the caffeine in it. That content in it causes a delay in the closure of the LES or cardiac sphincter, leaving it open and causing a reflux. So even some other drinks like sodas that contain caffeine bring about this acid reflux. Yeah, and it is not good too. That's why it is wise to set them aside and take water. The best drink that you can ever take in your life is a drink of water. So from findatopdoc.com, it says, bad news, spice foods also trigger heartburn as well. So many of us love to have a spicy meal. For some, it is essential that all their meals are spicy and hot. But if you are suffering with heartburn and love spicy meals, this is bad news for you. Hot, spicy meals are a trigger of heartburn. They tend to relax the lower esophageal sphincter and thus increase the risk of heartburn. So it would be wise to reduce on the spices that we put in our foods if we are to avoid a heartburn. So avoid going to sleep immediately after eating or eating while sleeping. Avoid these things. It's not good to go to sleep immediately after eating. Remember, the stomach is not gravity free. It's not gravity free, and its content are not gravity. Okay, the content in the stomach are not gravity free. Sometimes when you lie down, they follow the side where there is a lower, which is on a lower altitude, than the side which is on a high altitude. So sometimes if you sleep or bend after eating, it is like you are physically forcing food to open, to bounce upon the cardiac sphincter, and it will open and you have a heartburn. So Very Well Health says, eating too close to when you go to sleep can lead to acid reflux, digestion, poor sleep, and even weight gain. Experts recommend waiting 2 to 3 hours after eating solid foods before going to sleep. I won't add any voice to that. So, but there is a heartburn which is worthy endurance. Can this be a good heartburn? Let's check and see. In the Bible, we read about the king called King Josiah, 2 Kings 22 and 23. This became a king at an age of 8, and 18 years later he found himself in a country of Israel, taken up in sin. So what happened? The Bible shows to us in 2 Kings 22, 9 up to 10, that Shaphan, the scribe, came to the king and brought the king word again, and said, thy servants have gathered the money that was found in the house, and have delivered it into the hand of them that have the oversight of the house of the Lord. Verse 10 interests me a lot. It says, and Shaphan the scribe shewed the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest hath delivered me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. So Shaphan read this book before the king. Probably it was Deuteronomy, the book of the law. After reading it to the king, this is what happens to the king. It says, and it came to pass, when the king had heard the words of the book of the law, that he rent his clothes. So the king got a heartburn after feeding on the book of the law, after reading from the book of the law, that he was uncomfortable, and he rent his clothes. He heard the words of the Bible. Like you, like the king, you also can read the Bible and get that heartburn. Why? Because when he read, he realized the sins that the Israelites had been doing. You and I have been doing a lot of sins against our health: overeating, less chewing, drinking while eating, eating fatty meals that cause a heartburn, taking sodas and alcohol which cause a heartburn. So these are the things that we have been doing against our health. And like the king, when we realize our problem, we should rent our clothes. We should feel that heartburn. We should feel a revival in our hearts. So what did King Josiah do? Verse 11 says, and it came to pass, when the king had heard the words of the book of the law, that he rent his clothes. So he rent his clothes because of the heartburn that he received. And this is what he did. He brought reforms in the life of the Israelites. So you and I also, after learning of the problems we have been doing, we can change our reforms just as it happened to the Israelites. So So King Josiah told the people to destroy all the statues of Baal. They killed the priests of Baal. They reformed, they changed. You can also change, as what happened in Israel. So these are the reforms that King Josiah brought in Israel. He removed the idols from the temple. Verse 4. Removed the male prostitutes from the temple. Tore down Ashtoreth. And revived the celebration of the Passover. That caught my attention, especially the fourth reformation that he did. He revived the Passover. Speaking about the Passover, the Bible says in 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 7, "Purge out the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Christ our Passover is sacrificed for us." So Christ is our Passover. So Christ became the center in the life of the Israelites, just as he should be in our lives. And we can't leave the Passover without looking at Jesus Christ, who died and resurrected that we might be forgiven. When Jesus had resurrected, his disciples had not yet known that he is risen. So they were walking in sorrow of heart. Cleopas and his friend were journeying from Jerusalem to Emmaus, and Jesus asked them why they were sad. So when they were sad, they told him, "Our friend Jesus had been killed." And verse 17 says, "And he said unto them, What manner of communications are these that ye have one to another, as ye walk and are sad?" So they had lost sight of Jesus. And this is what happened. "And beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he expounded unto them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself." So Jesus read to these people the things concerning himself, and they got a heartburn. Luke 24 verse 32 says, "And they said one to another, Did not our heart burn within us while he talked with us by the way, and while he opened to us the scriptures?" So these people felt like what? A heartburn. So that is the heartburn that I want you to endure. Opening the scriptures. It comes only when you open the scriptures to fullness. You'll get a heartburn due unto scriptures. And it is worthy endurance. Christ caused the heartburn in his friends because he opened to them the scriptures and they saw Jesus. You and I can see Jesus, and as we are overcoming the heartburn due unto overeating and all its associates that cause a physical heartburn, the heartburn that comes by reading the Bible is the heartburn that I want everyone to see and to have. Otherwise, he says, "What communications are these?" And they have as you have one as they walk and are sad. And he caused unto them a heartburn. Jesus caused unto his disciples a heartburn, just as he wants you to have a heartburn, because you have read his word. Why are you sad? Maybe you have not read Jesus' word. You need to read his word. You'll have a heartburn that will cause a revival in you. Bible study is the only way to have a heartburn. To know Jesus, he says, "Study to shew thyself approved unto God, a workman that needs not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." He calls us to study. And he says, "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light upon my path." Jesus wants to shine in our lives. He says, "And this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent." So we need to study and know Jesus by ourselves. And they told what things were done in the way, and how he was known of them in breaking the bread. Jesus wants you also to know him in the breaking of the bread. And may God bless you.